Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something different here. I kind of wanted to do a review of the entire month of February for movies because I kind of noticed that a lot of the movies that came out in February were very underwhelming, and there's a lot of them that were dealing with a lot of issues. Some of them more than others, Madam Web. But I realized that some of these movies kind of struggled with, in my opinion, the exact same issue. So I kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit and just kind of talk about the overall similarities of some of these movies, talk about what I think each of them probably could have done a little bit better to make the movie a little bit better, more memorable, and overall, the main thing is I just noticed that some of these movies had things in common that were weird, and I wanted to make a video talking about it. So that's what this is. So first off, I kind of want to talk about overall the marketing for all of the movies that kind of came out this month because a lot of them were pretty bad. I do think that overall the trailer for the Bob Marley One Love was probably the only one that I was like, okay, yeah, this one's pretty good. It actually makes me want to go watch the movie. Drive Away Dolls, I think that the trailer for that one looks like a whole lot of fun, but I feel like a lot of these trailers are doing a really good job of hinting at things that aren't actually going to be in the movie. Madam Web obviously is probably the best with this because we get a lot of glimpses of the three Spider-Women in their costumes, and we get kind of hints that like they're going to be fighting in some like futuristic sequence in the film or whatever, and then obviously you get into the movie and all of the shots from the trailer is the only shots where they are in their costumes the entire length of the movie, and it is very disappointing. And other movies also did that this month. So we have Henry Cavill with John Cena and Ariana DeBose. She's a very hot upcoming actress who just won an Oscar a couple of years ago. She's somebody who you put her in your movie, a lot of people are going to be really interested to see what she does. She's in the movie for about one scene, the entire length of Argyle. In the Drive Away Dolls movie, we have this with both Matt Damon and Pedro Pascal. They both show up for like one individual scene that is very insignificant for a very short period of the film. And both of them, they are like main people on the posters. They are people who are definitely big parts of the trailer. And they're just there for a couple of minutes in the entire length of the film. And then like I said, Madam Web also did this. So that's just three films right there where it's like they have trailers that are kind of just showcasing the completely wrong things that are going to be in this movie. And part of the reason why I think that's a problem is Argyle, I don't think is nearly as bad of a movie as people think it is, but a lot of people were kind of expecting a spy movie with Henry Cavill, and Henry Cavill is barely in the movie, and a lot of people are very upset about that. Also, I just said Henry Cavill. I don't know if it's Cavill or Cavill, and I kind of just wanted to say that I know that it could be said either way, and I don't know which way is correct, so I'm sorry if I said it wrong, but what's it called? And for me, I think that Argyle was a relatively good movie, but they really should have done a better job of advertising the fact that Argyle, fictional characters, not going to be that big of a part in this movie. And in my opinion, I think it was kind of common sense that like all of the glimpses at what's going on with, you know, John Cena and Dua Lipa and all that stuff, I thought it made sense looking at the trailers that was just going to be like a couple of flash forwards and flashbacks or whatever in the scene. But the other ones, Drive Away Dolls, it's pretty bad because like we know that these girls are going to be getting into some kind of like crime mischief, and both of the characters who I mentioned earlier with Pedro Pascal's character and with Matt Damon's character, they're both showed holding on the same briefcase. So it's kind of like, okay, there's going to be a war over this briefcase, and the briefcase is going to be a really big deal about this, but for both of those actors, they're only in it for one sequence. And yeah, the briefcase has to do with it, but it made it seem like this briefcase was going to be a lot bigger and more important part of the movie, and it's kind of not. And then what's it called? With Madam Web, obviously, those three characters are barely in the movie, and they definitely were just trying to sell us on, yeah, you get to see Spider-Woman in a Spider-Man adjacent movie, you actually get to see Spider characters, that would be so cool. But obviously, that's not what they did. So okay, and now to touch on trailers just for one little last thing here, one of the similarities that I thought was really, really funny is Argyle, the big, like, thing that they were kind of, like, teasing with each of their trailers is, oh my god, who is the real Argyle? Are you ready to meet the real Argyle? It's going to be this huge, massive reveal. And I think that it's funny because for that was a huge thing for that entire trailer, right? And if you read any early synopsises of what this movie is, it's literally an author who has memory loss, gets thrown into a world of spycraft and espionage and has their entire world flipped upside down or something along those lines. But the big thing is it starts off with an author with memory loss. Okay, so the author is probably going to be Argyle? Like, I feel like that was just such a, like, big, like, oh my god, this is going to be an amazing, cool reveal. And anybody who actually did even the slightest bit of research on the movie before watching the movie, knew exactly what was going to happen there. And I thought that that was kind of funny that they low-key spoiled their own movie. And then with the case of Drive-Away Dolls, literally the briefcase, there's kind of like this big like speculation of, oh my god, what's going to be in the briefcase? Oh my god, what's in the trunk of the car? Because in the trailer, that's what they're setting up, is they're taking this car, some drug like mob boss people really want it, and there's got to be something valuable in this cart. And it's something that is like so played up in both the trailers and in the movie itself. Like, it's kind of like, oh my god, what's this big thing that they're after? And then whenever they open it up and it is a briefcase of dildos, it is very, very disappointing. So I kind of just wanted to talk about overall the marketing for all of these movies, the trailers and everything have been very misleading and very disappointing. And I feel like going into a movie knowing exactly what it's going to be makes it a little bit better, because for almost every single movie that came out in February, I went in with higher expectations because the trailers and everything have looked good. And then whenever I've seen it and it didn't live up to that, it's been disappointing. But like, there's been aspects that I've liked of each of these movies. Like, now to kind of get into some of the like bigger things that I really want to talk about, all of the movies that came out in the month of February were very, very weird, in my opinion. Obviously, we have some of the main ones being like Lisa Frankenstein, which is very weird, Argyle, which has a lot of wacky scenes in it. And to me, these movies, every single one of the ones that came out in February that I got to see, they do their best when they're weird. Like, in my opinion, the Argyle fight sequences towards the end of the movie where they're very colorful, and they're doing these weird little dance moves, and they're, what's it called? Like, the scene from the trailer where Dua Lipa does her weird, like, scissor kick thing, and their spin dance move, whatever. Whenever they're doing that in action sequences, and we're getting a bunch of colorful moments and stuff like that, that's when the movie really, really works. But in my opinion, this movie really strayed away from that. They wanted to play it like a more straightforward movie, and it wasn't. In my opinion, the only movie that I saw in February that was a straightforward movie was the animated movie Orion in the Dark, and that one, despite being straightforward, it just was a very like basic and boring movie. And then Lisa Frankenstein, I feel like, is also relatively straightforward. They're straight and to the point, and movies typically do better when you pick a lane and you really dive into making it what it's supposed to be. And in my opinion, with movies like Argyle and with movies like Drive-Away Dolls, they couldn't choose between if they wanted the movie to be weird or if they wanted it to just occasionally have weird moments. And because of that, the weird moments really stood out, where it could have been very stylistically beautiful. It could have been something that really got the viewer's attention. It could have been something that really made people remember this movie for a long period of time. It could have made it like a cult classic, but instead, in my opinion, I feel like some of these movies are going to be forgotten relatively early on, because you walk out of the theater with a bad taste in your mouth because, okay, well, we were just watching a cool, fun spy espionage movie, but then it ended off kind of feeling like a silly little rom-com, and they're like dancing to kill people. If we just watched somebody put some knives onto their boots and then ice skate and a weird little oil ring and kill people, like, what is happening here? It just feels so out of place because that's not what they had set up for this movie. And it's interesting because, like, Matthew Vaughn, if you've seen a lot of his action sequences and stuff like that, he loves doing silly things. He loves doing a lot of really ridiculous, over-the-top action sequences. So you go in there and you're kind of expecting that, but when it starts off so straightforward and then it ends like that, it is very disappointing. And then with the Drive-Away Dolls movie, it's kind of the same thing. When it shows the two main actresses or whatever, it's a very fun little buddy cop type movie. There's a lot of really good rom-com aspects in here. The comedy works incredibly well. Those two actresses bounce off of each other and have great chemistry. And personally, I didn't feel like the love story felt that good in the movie. But I think that it worked enough that I was like, okay, if this was just a rom-com, I would have been sold on this movie. But the crime stuff and like the weird like 70s trippy transitions and everything like that is so like weird here, because there's some great cinematography that feels very modern, that feels very like, okay, there's this epic transition that is beautiful and very cinematic. And then we're like, okay, let's throw in just what people would see if they're tripping on acid and they're watching this movie. And it just feels so out of place. It's just like a smorgasbord. I don't know how to say the word I was trying to say. Imagine a charcuterie board that has a bunch of things that do not go good together, and you just like take a handful of everything and shove it in your mouth. That's what walking out of both of these movies kind of felt like to me, and I just noticed that that was a massive issue. And then the last one, this is kind of a smaller thing, but I feel like every single movie in February that I watched had a really bad pacing issue. That was one of my main problems with Orion in the Dark, was they kind of like really brushed past the story originally so that they can kind of get into some of the like, oh, this is actually a bedtime story, so we're going to change the story now. We're going to mix a couple of things up. And for me, the pacing of that threw it off a lot. For me, the pacing of Argyle is absolutely terrible. The first, like, 30 minutes are, like, really nice. They feel like they're going to be really good. And then they kind of realize halfway through it, oh, crap, we didn't tell you any of the story. So they'll just kind of, like, snap, 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 exposition dump, exposition dump, exposition dump. And it's so congested in the middle of the movie Argyle. And I really, really enjoy a lot of bits and pieces of that movie, which is why I'm conflicted. Because, like, I really don't dislike it. But at the same time, it's a giant hot mess. And what's it called? Madam Web, same thing. Bunch of now my big thing is Madam Web is like so bad that it's like you can't even pinpoint like, oh, this is what's wrong with this movie. Here's what they should have done. Here's how they need to fix it. Madam Web is the kind of movie where it's like you need to just burn the entire house to the ground and rebuild from scratch because what the hell went wrong there? I couldn't even tell you. It's so terrible. What's it called? Driveway Dolls, in my opinion, also kind of a pacing issue. I feel like that movie really could have benefited from an extra, like, 15 minutes or so. But that being said, that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch on here. I really enjoyed the February movies because it's giving me kind of, like, nice, like, palate cleansers. Watching a bunch of bad movies and then watching good movies makes the good movies 10 times better. So I'm appreciative of all of the February movies because now when March comes and I get to watch Dune Part 2 tonight, I am going to absolutely love it. And I'm probably going to enjoy it way more than I would have if I hadn't just watched whatever the hell all of those were. So that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow. Bow, bow. Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow. So smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.